computer. Good afternoon. My name is Jo Palmer, and I am the founder and managing director of Pointer Remote. We are a company that is passionate about supporting businesses and individuals from all over Australia, particularly in rural areas, to leverage remote work. So we support businesses to grow their team and individuals to re-enter the workforce or to upskill in remote. We work with communities themselves to attract and retain population and also to increase economic development in their area. Today, I am so thrilled to be joined by the founder and CEO of Blisspot, Deborah Fairfull. And I'm so excited to have you here, Deb, because we've known each other for a little while now, and it's always a treat when I get to see you whenever I'm visiting Sydney. And it's really, I'm looking forward to sharing what you do, where you've come from, how you've come to this, and then we have a whole load of questions to actually throw at you. So, Deb, give us a bit of a spiel. Who are you? How did you get here?
Thanks, Jo. It's absolutely delightful to be here. I love meeting with Jo too. I just love her energy and what she's doing with her amazing business. So it's a great joy to be here. And how I got into this work, which is actually sharing well-being strategies and ideas to make people's lives easier so that they can invite more flow and ease into their life, because life can be really challenging sometimes. I'm particularly in business. I'm a third-time business owner. I've had 2 successful businesses in the past, and this is my third. And I really know how difficult business can be, particularly when you start it up from scratch. It's a real journey, but it also can be an incredible opportunity for growth and change. And in fact, it's an incredible privilege to be able to have an idea and make a difference in the world. See that idea come from nothing into reality. But during that journey, I've discovered from my own personal experience, it is really important to take care of yourself. But we'll be talking a little bit more about that later. But back to Jo's question, I started this journey. I had my first business when I was 24. I actually come from Wagga. I was born in Griffith, so I have a great passion for the country and rural areas and just the amazing dynamic things that are happening there, and great love of the land. So it's lovely to reconnect with Jo over those things as well. But when I was 24, I started my first business. I lived in Canberra. I studied at Charles Sturt University, and then I moved to Canberra, and I had a great passion to start a business to do with design. So design, and it was back in the 80s and the 90s. It was an early stage tech business, which was exciting. We did web designs and e-commerce solutions. So it was all very new and different back then. And I was very fortunate enough to work in that business, which I loved, for 10 years. And then I sold it. But the thing I loved most about that business was when my team was struggling. I had a team of 26. I studied HR, and I learned all about conflict resolution and interpersonal skills. And I took those ideas back from the course, which I studied in Sydney, and I took it back to my team. And when I shared it with them, things started to shift and change and grow. And we went from a team that had just come together to a really high performance team. And a lot of people in that business actually stayed for 10 years because they loved the journey too of the growth and the evolution. And then I started up my second business, which was a healthy fast food business in Mossman in Sydney, and I was going to franchise that. It was a bit ahead of its time. It was about 15 years ago now, and we did all superfoods and healthy foods, which are massive now. And again, I loved sharing ideas that made people's lives easier in the business, and even in the food business itself. We did lots of education around nutrition, and people love that, and I love doing it. So for my third business, I sort of took some time off, and I did a bit of soul searching, and I thought, what is it that I would do just because I really loved it? And I realized it was to be able to share ideas to really help people, and particularly when they're stressed and overwhelmed. But it doesn't even have to be because of that. It can be just because you want to go to the next level. You want to grow and expand, which makes us feel good because it's our natural state. Just like an acorn grows from a tiny little acorn to a beautiful, great big oak tree during the course of its life, we're meant to continue to grow and evolve for all of our life. And so I decided I was an expert in my own body of work, which is all around emotional mastery. I've studied kinesiology, counselling, and psychology. So combine those three together, and I love philosophy, particularly that timeless ancient wisdom such as the Tao Te Ching or the Vedas based on the yoga philosophies. I love all those things. So I sort of combined that all together. I wrote a book, I did an online course, and I myself was an expert with Mind Valley for a period of time. But then I decided my sort of business roots were calling me back home, that I wanted to really start up a business, and I wanted to bring a community together of like-minded individuals who love doing what I love doing, which was sharing ideas. And I also feel with personal development or well-being or personal growth, it's a very individual journey. So an author or an expert that might resonate with me may not resonate with Joe, or may not resonate with my husband, because they're all looking for different things based on your own personal experience. And that's why we have a community of 70 experts in all different topics now. Sleep, for example, that's a huge issue. Self-love, relationships, parenting, all sorts of topics that people can sometimes get stuck in or have a block. We share ideas so you can move through that block and then feel the flow in your life again. So yeah, that's how I got to where I am now.
I love it. I love for someone that is like so zen like you've got like the busiest brain and the busiest like things going on. It's hilarious. I love it. So, but there's definitely like a common theme that's obviously run throughout your career and through all the decision makings and the business starting and all of the bits and pieces that you've done. And I think that I don't know. I don't know if it's because I come from a far more, I hate to use the word cynical. I'm always a bit sort of like, oh gosh, I feel like I've been overwhelmed from every social media channel, with every sort of magazine I read about in the last sort of couple of years about well-being and self-care and all of these things that seem to have come to the surface. What I've always really loved about your business and your strategy towards this is exactly what you just said. It's such a personal thing. And for someone, even the biggest cynic of looking after themselves like myself, that there is definitely different journeys for different people. And I love the fact that yours is pretty much like your business is almost like a directory, and it's an aggregator of people that do things very different and do them differently, and that you can almost go, it's like a buffet of different people and different experiences and things. So I think that like I sort of touched on, that it's well-being, wellness, all of this industry has exploded, and especially in the year of 2020, where people have had some pretty serious tough times, and sometimes it might have been for the first time in life, and people are looking for different things. When we bring that back to a employer position, or for someone that is the employee, when you look at this wellbeing space for workers, productivity, like you'd mentioned your team, that when you actually started bringing strategies back and you saw like an increase in the performance in your team.
Yeah.
Why does wellbeing actually need to have a seat at the table? Like, why does it need to be a priority for employers? Like, I know we hear it, but I think people just sort of think, oh yeah, I guess I should be looking at that, and we've got something in a document at the bottom of the folder pile over there. But why do you think that for employers in particular, why does the well-being of their teams really need to be a priority?
Well, I think in the past, well-being is not the core product of the business, understandably, and people need to focus on their core product and get, make a profit. That's what most businesses are focused on, and that's rightly so too. But the other, a very important piece to that puzzle is the human capital side of it. Like, I always felt that my business, even though we sold food or we sold design, was the people in the business responsible for making those things happen. And I think in the past, things to do with emotions and mental health have been seen as soft and fuzzy because we can't hold on to them. They're not tangible. They're the unseen. But increasingly I think it's amazing the way corporates are really stepping up and taking responsibility because it actually is impacting their bottom line. Like stress is the world's leading disability, and that's according to the World Health Organization. 264 million people suffer from stress on a daily basis. Like the figures are absolutely huge. $322 billion every year is lost, is caused by burnout. There's $1 trillion lost in productivity every year due to stress. So because of this, and stress directly impacts on absenteeism, people turning up at work, presenteeism, and that's when people are at work but they're not really at work. They're thinking about the issue with the teenager, or they haven't had a good night's sleep. And also workers' comp, so claims for sickness and health issues. They're absolutely huge. They're big problems for corporates, and retention is a really big thing, and engagement, because if people are at work but they're not engaged, they're not being productive. So therefore people are really stepping up and taking ownership of it, seeing it as a problem and seeing it as something that really does impact the bottom line directly. Because I know myself, if I'm happy and I love my work, I'm going to be engaged and my mind's going to be clear. I'm going to be thinking new ideas. I'm going to be innovative. But if I'm dragging myself to work, I don't feel good. I feel sad, or I feel stressed, I feel overwhelmed, I'm not going to be producing as best as I possibly can. So, and Harvard research did a really fantastic study, and what they discovered was that for every dollar spent on a really well implemented wellbeing program, there was a $6 return. So that's just one study. There's so many of them proving that it really does work. In my experience, it took my business from sort of barely surviving to really thriving. We won all sorts of awards in both of my businesses, and that's because I always cared about people. I always think people are really important. We work, at least 38 hours of work at work every week, and if we make those happy hours, that spills over into everything. The joy in the business, we take that joy home. It's how we are with our family, with our kids. And so I think people are realizing that it's not this soft, fuzzy sort of nice to have stuff, but it's actually essential and it underpins everything else. And so that's why there's a massive shift towards it. Yeah,
that's so interesting, and like a frightening statistics like that. That's huge. But I guess that when you can show dollar amounts next to things, like that's when you start seeing that major shift, isn't it? Do you think that the last sort of 2020, do you think that there has been an even bigger uptake, do you think, because we've had such an interesting experience of actually having more of an insight into people's personal lives, like because of exactly this, even like video calls, which you would never have had a glimpse into someone that you worked with, say in a big organization, into their home, or had to have conversations about childcare, or like remote learning for kids. Like there was just so many things thrown in there that it actually humanized teams. And are you sort of seeing that translate into, well, I suppose, uptake with Blisspot and with people like signing up, and with organizations doing this as an across the company like strategy?
Absolutely. Well, our growth in our business has more than doubled, since COVID began. But I think what people are saying is that the hidden pandemic is mental and emotional stress. Like people, and I don't even think we know the full extent of that right now. I think it's probably going to come more to the fore next year, because we had to lock down. That obviously has a massive impact on business. And then when people in their business are struggling, I know myself, having, being a business owner, if you're not struggling, if you're not thriving in your business, it impacts all other areas of your life. It can impact your health, as it has for me in the past, your relationship. Apparently, with the businesses in lockdown in Victoria, so many people are struggling with relationships and And I think too, because of what we've all had to go through in the past, when life was, we were able to go anywhere we wanted to do anything we wanted, and we all had busy lives. We were very distracted from our emotions and our thoughts. But when we've been more isolated or confined, how we really feel comes up to the surface, and that is actually fantastic, because that gives us a lot of insight and awareness to our thoughts and feelings, and it gives us a lot of ability to change our patterns that we don't like and to really grow. But a lot of people, if you don't have the skills and if you don't know how to do that, those feelings or thoughts can be quite overwhelming, and that's when people will drink or take drugs or eat a lot. They'll try to numb their inner world because they don't have the skills to handle it. So that's a big mission of Blisspot. Well, there's quite a few, but one is to reduce the stigma around mental and emotional health. We just did a big Wellbeing summit last week, sharing ideas to help people with their mental and emotional health, and to really share those skills so that that you're the master of your own life. You're in the driver's seat of your mental and emotional world. So your thoughts or your emotions aren't controlling you, making you act out in ways which you perhaps later regret. And this is equally relevant to a business environment. If we're in a business meeting, we're not in our power. If our thoughts and our emotions are controlling us, we can not say what we want in that meeting. We'll withdraw, and then later on we'll think, oh, wish I had have said that. Or we can even say something that's quite aggressive if we sort of lash out in that moment, because we've had the feeling and then we've just acted on it without being able to create that space so we have a choice around it, and then we can act in our empowered self in all situations.
That's so interesting. And I think that just thinking about how people are working so differently, and that where you are so much more on, I feel like that, that death by Zoom, and that people have really felt the intensity of work, and that whatever stresses and things, like you said, that they may have been distracted from, or that might have been bubbling away in the past, have just had like a mega spotlight put on them. And I can only imagine that that translates into more stress and those sorts of things. But I think what's really interesting that you touched on there is that people are, like you said, it's come to the surface and people are acting on it. Like even my physio was saying they've never been busier, because she said that time at home and those things, they're like, okay, I've reassessed priorities in life with work. This knee has been irritating me for so long. I'm going to give it the time it needs to heal. I'm going to book into the physio. I'm going to do my exercises. I'm going to actually do all of these things. Do you think that that's a big sort of thing that's coming with this as well, that people are prioritising themselves?
Absolutely, and reevaluating what's important. And I mean, we can use this time, because the world will never be the same again. It won't be like it was, last February ever again. Things are different because of what we've all been through. And I think we can use that time for positive change, and to, like you say, self-care is really important. If your body's hurting, or if it's in pain, if you've got a sore knee, that is a massive signal to you to go and get some help, not to put up with it or just think it's going to get better. Like, it might get better, and that's fantastic. But if it's an ongoing issue, pain of whatever sort in your body, whether it be physical or emotional, is a teacher to teach you more about yourself. So taking the time to go and get it fixed is really important. But I think too, we've had to slow down, and I think that's because the thing is, in the past, and I've been like this myself from time to time, we can be so busy going from thing to thing that we don't create that space in our life. And space is really important to let your body resettle and reset, to give you really important insights. It can make you very unstable if you're just busy all the time. And COVID forced everybody to stop, to take space, to be more still, to be more present, to perhaps connect to the things that are really important to their life, to their family, not out distracted doing all these different things, or actually being together and connecting in more real ways. So there is definitely a gift in all of this time, and I believe it is getting to know our inner world, our thoughts and our emotions, and how they impact our behaviours, and becoming the master of that, which will positively impact all other areas of our life.
No, I agree completely.
Mm.
So what are, like, going on that then, so say for an individual, and especially for a lot of people that work remotely, even prior to 2020, it could be quite an isolating way to work, that people were quite often consciously having to incorporate things into their work life that were a bit different than if they've been just going to an office. But what are some sort of strategies or tips that you might have for, say, individuals where they can incorporate that, prioritize wellness or well-being or self-care and those sorts of things? Like, what are some things that people can be doing themselves that are really almost like a not a quick fix, but like an easy thing to sort of transition into life? What are some sort of ideas around that?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Just following on from what you said too, I think we're all suffering a bit from death by Zoom. Yesterday I had a meeting in at the city. It was so exciting to get dressed up, and we actually sat in the park in Wynyard Park, and in the sunshine. I even put a photo on Facebook. It was so exciting to be in the sun with a real person talking. And Zoom's great because it's quick and efficient, but there's something so much in getting together with people, and the energetic experience of it all, and what we give to each other. So that's really nice. So I think trying to incorporate some of that when you can, when it's safe and practical to do so. I think the other thing that you talked about, Jo, which I really related to, is, and from talking to lots of different people, is that people are going from the bed to the computer. That is really unhealthy. Being at the computer all day and then going back to bed. Like, computers do drain and zap your energy. It's like something comes out of your eyeballs into the screen, and they're a bit of an energy zapper, but we all have to use them a lot. I do myself. But some simple tips, and I practice these things myself. So I just want to make a note that, Jo, you said you live in the country. I grew up in the country. Being in nature is just like immersing yourself in a massive reboot, or it really gets you back to your center very, very quickly. So if you're lucky to live in the country, you have that all the time. And I think sometimes being in the country, you are centered and grounded because you're so close to nature all the time. I think that's a beautiful gift. But if we can't be in the country, and even like for some people who are in serious lockdown, they can't even get outside, looking at green and blue is really calming on your nervous system. So I used to just look out the window at the trees. If you haven't got time for a great big break, just like now I can see behind my computer, I can see the sky and the trees. Are really calming on your nervous system. So I'm a really big believer in a morning ritual because it sets your day up right for the whole day. So when you in that transition point before you get out of bed, when you're lying in your bed, your mind's pretty much in neutral. It's usually, sometimes when you wake up you can feel really good because that's because you're fairly clear and you're all connected. But the minute you start thinking about the to-do list and what I've got to do, you start to get into that, everything's starting to rev up, your mind's starting to get busy, your mind's starting to take control of you, basically. So that's probably what you don't want. So you don't want to start that day with that energy. You want to start the way you'd like to start it, which is feeling clear, calm, and in control and ready to get on with your day. So I believe, particularly if you're working from home, if you can, if it's not raining, get out of the house. Like, that was my absolute saver during lockdown, particularly, and even now. And my husband and I always did it before. So we're very fortunate. We do live close to the beach, but it doesn't really matter. Even if you're a long way from the beach, you can always probably find a park or a little patch of green, or even walking down the street where there's trees. All of those things are so good for you. Just breathing in the fresh air. People, again, might think, well, that's not much, but it is really a lot. So getting out for a day, we used to go for a walk, have a coffee, go for a swim at the beach. If you do something a little bit exercisey, that's really good. I ride my bike. I love riding my bike. Because it gets all your energy going. It makes your muscles a bit stronger. Exercise is good for you. If you've got a strong body, you're more likely to have a strong mind. Our body loves movement. It absolutely loves it. So if we're sitting at a desk all the time and going to bed, our body will not be happy with that. But if we can I know that when we get moving, like often if I'm sitting thinking about something a lot and then I go for a walk around the block, all of that just resolves itself without me even trying. And I get back at my desk. I know exactly what I need to do. So don't underestimate the power of movement. It's really strong. And I am also a big believer in meditation, because I believe if what you feed into your mind is so, so important, because your mind determines everything. So in the mornings, there's lots of different things you can do, but even if you just meditate for 10 minutes or even 5 minutes, it could be a guided meditation where people are saying there's lots of beautiful good morning meditations, or you can do your own meditation, just learning a few very simple techniques. I remember probably about 10 years ago, I went and did an 8-day meditation course. It was actually to learn how to be a meditation teacher, which I am. I do teach meditation. And then when I got there, I thought, oh my gosh, is that it? Like, it was so easy. It's focusing on a mantra, focusing on your breath. The techniques are very simple. Sometimes they're not easy to do because your mind will be busy, but it's just like exercising if you keep it up and keep practicing. And then in those moments of tension, whether it be at work or even in your home life, because you've trained your mind to be more calm and more still, in that moment, you're more likely to make the best decision, not some sort of snap thing that you perhaps might later regret. So they're very simple things you can do, just a morning ritual, incorporating like a little series of things that you love to do that really make your soul sing, that you're really happy about. We've got heaps of suggestions on our site for that. And I'll even share with Joe an infographic that we developed last year for World Mental Health Day. And it's got just really simple things that you can do to fill your cup up, such as get in the sunshine for 20 minutes every day, practice gratitude, do kind things for people. They all they change your energetic state. I know when I've had my most difficult, trying moments in my life, when I felt really stretched, I came across the concept of doing something nice for somebody else. So when you're really down and out, and you can be anything, the minute you go and do that nice thing for somebody else, your whole energy changes. It snaps you out of that, and then you're better able to go back and deal with whatever was causing that great big issue in the first place, because your energy is better. You're doing it not from a fearful state, you're doing it more from your empowered state. So it's learning techniques to change your energy. There's lots of NLP techniques, which I'd highly recommend if you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed. A lot of our authors on our site share those sorts of things, such as, you can click and then that'll change how you feel energetically. So it's important to take ownership of how you feel, because it does impact all other areas of your life. Another simple thing that you could do throughout the day, if you're feeling that tension in your body, that's a sign that you probably need to have a bit of a reset. And just taking 3 deep breaths really can reset your energetic system. So it gets you out of that parasympathetic system where you're sort of uptight, you've gone into fight or flight. You want to take control and responsibility for that and get back to that calm, resilient, centered place, and then go forward from that place. And when you're breathing, taking those 3 deep breaths, this is again such a simple thing, but it's really powerful. Your out breath is very calming on your nervous system. So take a shorter in breath and a longer out breath. It just really helps to let go and calm everything. So they're just some quick things, Joe. There are so many. Oh, and a nighttime routine too. Winding down before you go to bed. Do things you love before you go to sleep. A little meditation can clear your mind and give you a better sleep for the whole night through, so you're not taking unfinished business into your sleep with you, because that's when you wake up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, you'll be thinking about those things. So again, just being the master of your mind and your sleep and taking control of it, and implementing very simple practices that don't take too long. Even your nighttime routine, it might be 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be this big, overwhelming thing that you need to do every evening, and always make it things that you enjoy and love to do.
And things that are portable, so that you can't use the excuse that you're away with work or you're away for the weekend, or things that they then throw a spanner in your routine work. So things that you can do from anywhere.
Yeah, I believe that too. That's why I think guided meditations are good. But then if you've learned to meditate yourself, you don't need anything to do that. And that's kind of freeing as well. So I feel it's good to do the both. Yeah.
It's always on the list. Whenever I've actually ever tried to do meditation, I have a very noisy brain. I know that if I actually gave it a chance and did some practice around these things, I might be able to quieten it down a bit. But it's so interesting because I do a fair bit of reading just on a lot abroad. I'm always very good at when people recommend a read. I will quite often do the actual reading as well. And it's so interesting that from people that are from one extreme of very earthy, that very loving sort of end of scale, through to high performing CEO corporate world things, that meditation still sprinkles all the way through there. And so that it doesn't have to be this, what it sort of often gets thrown in that, oh, that's all very woo woo, but the really high performing people that are doing things, they're finding the time to do that meditation and that thinking on and calming of brain. It's on the list of things.
Yeah. Well, I think people, myself included, because I was probably one of the most A-type driven people in the world in my early, 20s and 30s. I used to always think I didn't have time, I'd eat on the run. But what I've come to realize, that when we have those down times, it makes the doing times better. By creating space in our life, it makes the time when we are contributing and putting out that energy, it's more focused, it's more on point, it's more relevant, because we've taken that space to refocus and reset. So I get it that, sometimes it's really hard to fit it in and we don't have time, but conversely, it actually gives us more time.
100%. And I think that's the thing, is that no time thing is I think it's a societal cop-out, that people that are like, oh, I'm really busy, I haven't got time for that. Oh, did you watch the whole season of Yellowstone? I'm like, how did you find time to do that? You watch that, but you're too busy to do 10 minutes of meditation a night.
Yeah. Well, I think as humans, we can often put ourselves last, and now we're realizing that's really not working for us with the levels of stress and, sickness and disease on the planet, that we need to really turn that around. And the journey does start with ourselves, and it really doesn't take very long. And I think it's good to try to incorporate it with things that you're already doing. So for example, somebody in my team said, oh, you really need to be doing Facebook Lives. I was just thinking, oh, she's got to be joking. When in the world am I going to get these Facebook Lives done? And then I realized that every Monday morning I take a meditation group. It's between 8:30 and 9. So I'm all set up. I've got everything's done. And then if I just stay on for an extra 3 minutes and do my little Facebook Live at the end and make a part of my routine, it's not too hard. That was easy. And now I do it every week. It's regular because I've sort of popped it in with something else. So the same with your sort of self-care things, I always think it's good to double things up if you can. So if, say, you're having trouble catching up with your friends, having trouble exercising, why not meet a friend and go for a walk and then have a cup of tea? So then you've exercised, you've met your friend, you've had some lovely social time. So if you're really busy, combining things, if you can, is a good way to be time efficient.
So true. And I think that just thinking about that, keeping up with friends, I think that a lot of the time, if you're lucky enough to have decent phone service, country people have got this added benefit of being in the car all the time, that you can be quite often a very good friend, that you get in the car, make the call to the friend, and then you can be chatting along. Look, that in a perfect world would be really nice. I also drive people crazy because I'm like very good at staying in touch with friends, but I generally ring them from the car, which means that the call drops out at least 17 times.
I do the same actually. Yeah, and the reception's not as good and they're straining to hear. But
Yeah.
also too, those country drives, because I used to do a lot of them myself, they're so beautiful. That can be a meditation in itself. So, because you're in the car,
Yeah.
I used to love driving in the evening when you've got that beautiful light, or in the early morning. So it's just when you're more present, notice. That's a thing too, that would be another tip, is trying or just working on bringing your mind back to the now, because there's beauty all around us all the time, even in difficult situations when we tune into it. So it's very different driving along in the car, because the mind will catastrophize or it will mental loop if we let it. So, something will happen and then we'll think of the worst possible situation, and then we're all into panic, wondering what we're going to do. Or it'll get one thought and it can think over and over and over again about that one thought, it's not productive and it doesn't help us. So say, for example, if we're driving the car and we're catastrophizing or mental looping about something, or we could be driving along in the car, enjoying the sunshine, feeling it on our skin, noticing what's around us. And when you're present, like even if I go to the shopping mall, I can find beauty at the shopping mall all the time. You just see the way parents and kids relate, or, somebody's holding a little child's hand. So beautiful. So being present really does add to the joy of your daily life. And in business, it's really important too, because when you're talking with your team members, you want to really be there with them. You don't want to be thinking about what happened on the weekend while somebody's trying to have a conversation with you. But it's surprising how the mind will do that. It'll drift. And when it does do that, and even Joe, you said before, oh, my mind's really busy. That's okay. That's all right. Just accepting that it is busy, and that's fine. But then sort of making a choice, maybe to just invite a bit more quietness or a little bit more stillness, and and knowing that everything will still get done because your mind can focus on things and makes the right decisions. So just practicing those skills of being very kind and gentle with yourself in when you find your mind catastrophizing or mental looping or racing, thinking about other things, just kindly, gently bringing it back, and you make the choice about what you'd like to be thinking about.
That's such good advice. I think I want to finish on that because I'm going to ponder that now for the rest of the afternoon. I've got a 3.5 hour drive this afternoon. So I was thinking prior to our call that I was thinking, all the podcasts that I could download, but I'm thinking maybe I will just drive and enjoy the fact that we've had so much rain down here, and that it's going to be green. And the last time I went out west, it was so dry still. So it's going to be a very different world driving out there. So.
Oh, that's very special. Enjoy. That's such a special part about being in the country. Yeah.
Well, look, Deb, I'm so thrilled. Thank you so much. You've given me yet more self-prioritising homework to do. I've found that really, really, really interesting. So where would be the best place for people watching this if they would like to get in touch, or if they want to, where's the best place to find you online, or your company, or where do you hang out apart from in Facebook Lives?
Yeah, that's right. On my website, we've got a wellbeing platform, blisspot.com. So it's BLISSPOT.com. There's a contact form there. You can get in touch with me through there, all through Pointer Remote Roles, because we absolutely love being a partner. And you can get access to our work through there as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Deb, for your time. I really appreciate it. And I'm feeling very calm going into the afternoon. I can listen to your voice all day. Maybe I need to get involved on Monday morning meditation.
Well, I was going to say to you or any of the community, it's free. It's just something I started during COVID, because I thought, what's a way we could give back and just help people? And it's really fun. It's a beautiful little group, and it's all online. So anybody's very welcome to do that. And if I can share the link with Joe. It's just a Zoom call. So
and we'll put it with the bottom with this video, so it'll be in there.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you
thanks
so
so
much.
much,
Lovely
Deb.
to see you. Okay, bye, Jo.
Bye.